Lauren Lucas, 97.3 BGfm.
So, good morning, guests. So, last time you were here, you came in to talk to us about the Tang Soo Regional Championships that were to take place at the Ebbw Vale Sports Centre on the 17th of November. How did your team do?
My team did excellent. It was twofold actually, because we were the local setup. I've been to lots of tournaments and I've been somewhat involved in the preparation before, but never to this level. So on the Friday they set up the hall and a lot of my students came along to help out and set it up. What was nice was the staff there said that usually when they do these big events, martial arts tournaments, everything, there's just two people who tell the staff to go do this, do that, and we had a big team, not only my students but other students from around Wales and students who had travelled down the night before to help out. So we set up the whole room, as you will see in the videos and the pictures, in about 2 hours, which the staff said it usually takes them till midnight. So that was the one part of it. So it was a successful setup. Everything worked out that way, and then the day ran smoothly, and it's so nice to have it so close by. My students could turn up and they were relaxed and they felt on home turf. Like I said, we went back to the Leisure Centre where we didn't start out, but we did start out in Ebbw Vale Leisure Centre. But when it moved in 2013, that was our home for sort of 4 years, and it was nice to go back there as a club to compete in this big arena, and my students did amazing. So many great stories. Again, the day goes very quickly for me, but I would obviously hear the name on the tannoy of Heads of the Valleys won this, or Heads of the Valleys came third in this, and the main story I took away from it is because I had a lot of senior adults, high-ranking belts who'd competed in a couple of tournaments before, but I had a couple of young students, 10, 11, 12, who'd never competed before. This is their first competition, and obviously very nervous, and there was 4 little girls. But again, it's not about the winning or losing, but they did incredibly well. 2 of the girls got 2 trophies, another girl got 3 trophies, another girl got 4 trophies, and it was just so nice that they'd put in the extra work to come along. They'd got over their nerves, because obviously it's very nerve-wracking to do something like this, never done it before, and they did so well. So yeah, it was a great day.
Well, that's good. How did your students feel about the tournament, and what do you feel contributed to the club's success?
What is nice is that obviously I haven't been to many other martial arts tournaments, but from what I've heard of organisers and people who've been involved with those tournaments, is the day is very tense. Yeah, it's very sort of like, I want to beat you, and I've got to win, and if I don't get my club, if I don't win it, my club won't talk to me. You hear all these horror stories about it, and what I like about our Tang Soo tournaments in particular is it's all about making friends. Everyone comes up to each other and says hello. So for my students, it was a chance for them to, the people who hadn't competed before, it was a chance for them to make friends, and for those people who'd been to a couple of tournaments before, it was a chance to see their friends again, and sort of, you know, they have what I call healthy rivalries. For example, one of my students, he always gets beat by this one guy. This guy's very good, and he came second place this time, but he told me, he said he had 1 score higher than the guy. So he was just over the moon. He said, I must be improving, because I had like, they give out 5 scores, like 8.4, 8.5. So he had like an 8.5, and the guy had like sort of solid 8.3s. So the guy still won, but he was just so chuffed that one judge thought his form was better than the other guys. He was over the moon, and I love hearing stories like that. That they're still, you know, still making achievements, still doing well, but they're not sort of like, oh, I beat that guy, or I you know, they threw their trophy down because they got second place. There's none of that going. It's all very friendly, and one of my students, she got 2/3 in forms, and she didn't get anything in sparring, and I asked her what her favourite bit was, and she said, oh, I love the sparring. So even though she lost that, she was like, that's my favourite part. So it's great. They don't think about win, lose, and I had a couple of comments from other masters and instructors saying, oh, all my students were very polite and showed excellent effort, and my favourite compliment is not about winning trophies or anything, but when an instructor or one of the masters says, oh, I knew it was your student from the way they conducted themselves, like in a good way, that's always makes me feel happy, and I'm like, well, did a good job. So I was pleased for my students, very pleased overall.
So what was it like having such a big tournament so close to home?
It's absolutely insane. In fact, we had so much going on that I didn't really take it in until we were setting it up, and it was so crazy to see all these people that, again, I usually travel to Cambridge and Birmingham, seeing them all in the hometown. And what was nice was they said, and they come from Cambridge and London and big cities. They said what an excellent facility we had here in Ebbw Vale. And they were so impressed with the day, how it was organised, the staff, everything. They said, we want to do the tournament here next year. And a lot of people said that, they've been to a lot of tournaments. It's a long day, 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. And they said the day flowed on time. And they said it was a real magical experience. They said it was one of the better tournaments they'd been to, which is very nice. And I think everyone had a really good time. And obviously then, after you see on the Facebook all the great stories, had a good time. Great facilities, great everything. So in my mind, it was a success all round for GB Tang Soo as the whole association, and for my club being involved and happy to host it as being the closest club to it.
Okay, so did you also take part in the championships, and how did you do?
Yes, I'm very lucky because I'm still a third dan black belt, which is high up. But at the next rank I would go to, I'd be what's called a master, and masters aren't allowed to compete. So it's just a way of going. You have to hang up your gloves every once in a while. But what I like doing is I like being in the trenches with my students. So the term they call instructors in Tang Soo is called sabonim, and it means lead by example. So it means like father figure or instructor or lead by example. So with my students, I always tell them, I'm going to do everything you're doing. So if they're doing 20 push-ups, I'm doing 20 push-ups. If I'm telling them to touch their toes, I'm touching my toes. Try and do everything that they do. And I would never ask my students to do anything I wouldn't do. So every time there's a tournament, I compete. And luckily for me, they do the tournament in kind of a weird way. The higher grades go on first and they do their weapon. So I do a sword. And so for the people like my little girls who hadn't competed before, they wouldn't have seen me, what I'm like in a tournament. They always see me like soft-spoken in the class. So when I go up and do my sword, I just before I do my sword form, I shout out the name of the form as loud as I can. And I call it peacocking. It's always like, look at me, like I'm not showing off, but I'm saying, look, I'm here, judges pay attention. So they get to see how to act for the rest of the day. And I was very lucky in the sword form that I got a first place. But then I go away and judge all day, and then my students compete all day. And a lot of my students, we usually go up on a bus, so they're all there, but they were lucky enough to, when they competed, they could go home if they wanted to. So some of my students stuck around, but then I compete right at the end of the day. So I'm all tired from judging, and I'm just elated hearing about my students' stories. So at the end of the day, I'm like, yep, it's done. My students have done well. Everything's gone to plan. I just have to compete. And I did, you do your hand form then, and you don't know your score, then you go straight into what's called free sparring. And I had to fight 3 fights. And I won all my fights, so I knew I'd won the sparring, but then they call up the results, and they said that I won the forms and the free sparring. So that's 3 categories, and it works like points. So if you get first, you get 10 points. If you get second, you get 8 points. If you get third, you get 5 points. So they count out at the end of the day how many people have the most points. Now, there was actually 4 people who'd got 3 firsts, so you can't all have what they call the grand champion. But because I've been competing since 1995, and because of I'm such a high-ranking black belt, the award goes to me. So I was able to win the grand champion, which is something I wasn't even thinking about getting, because I was obviously organising for my students and making sure they did well. But it was a very nice vignette to the day where I was just so shocked. I was like, oh, the day went well and I won this trophy. It's so good. So the nice thing was I won the Grand Champion trophy, and then what will happen is that gets kept in the dojang. So when people walk in, they get to see it, and then hopefully my students can see, like, well, one day if you work really hard, you can win this. But again, it's not about that. But I just think it's a nice addition to hard work. It's like some of my students, they didn't win anything, and I always tell them that I didn't win a first place till 2011. So you have to imagine I started in 1995, competed all that time, and it wasn't until 2011 I got a first place. So I always tell them, like, it's a goal to win. And then the thing about trophies is that you have to pick up the trophy to realise it's empty, to realise it's the hard work that should be rewarded, not the trophy. So again, it's a lovely thing. I really appreciate it, but I hope that next year when I take it back to the tournament, someone else wins it. And it would be wonderful if one of my students won it, but not the most important thing.
Yeah. So you've not only recently won awards for your role as a practitioner, but you've also recently won an award for your role as an instructor. Could you tell us a bit more about what it meant and to you to receive the Hall of Fame?
So there's this martial arts magazine, used to be called Martial Arts Illustrated, now it's called Martial Arts UK Online, and it's a very prestigious martial arts award, and every year they give out Hall of Fame awards. So, for example, the head instructor of GB Tang Soo, Master Khan, has won it many times. Very prestigious award. So it's something that was so prestigious, I never thought that I would get it. It wasn't even on my radar of like things I must get, because when you start training, you're like, I want a black belt. And then when you're a black belt, you're like, well, maybe I want to be an instructor. And when you're an instructor, you say, well, maybe I want to teach. These are your goals. And for me, my goal was opening up my own dojan. That was like the huge thing that I thought I'd do. So I'd done that, and what was nice was I had a letter through the post saying I'd been awarded the Hall of Fame, and it was just such a shock. I was like literally shaking, because I was like, I didn't even know that would ever happen for me. What was nice was the person who nominated me was outside the association, and they had actually seen the videos and the sort of content I've been putting out of the club and trying to push Tang Soo in a positive way. Which was very nice, because again, I'm making all this extra effort to put things out and it's being noticed. So it was very nice to get it, and the award was nice for me because again, it raises the profile of the club and meet martial artists, meet these great martial arts people who I would normally never get to meet. So it was a wonderful experience, and I'm very, very grateful, and just a huge honour.
Guess just before I let you go, could you tell us a little bit more about your club's mission to raise money for the Huntington's Disease Society?
Yeah, it's unique for us. Obviously, as a club in the community, we want to be involved in the community and help out. We've done free self-defense classes, and we've done demonstrations, and we've tried to help out. But when people talk to me about a charity, it's kind of been like a weird subject, because it's not me giving this charity, it's what charity the club would represent. And it was always like, well, which one? There's so many good charities out there, what is relevant to us? And so we wanted to give to a charity that was relevant to one of our students. Basically, we had a student who started with us 3 years ago who had Huntington's disease, and he had a very bad life, knowing that he had this crippling disease, and he really wanted to turn his life around. And he came to the class, and I remember him being very nervous, but he loved the class, and the class really helped him out with his condition. The problem is, though, that it's a degenerative disease, and as you get older it gets worse. So his goal was that he wanted to get his black belt in Tang Soo before his condition got too bad. And I'm not in contact with him at the moment, which is one of the sad things, because as an instructor I have a weird job, as I love all my students and I want them to do well, but when they stop training with me, I kind of can't have any contact with them. So I always say to all students, and any students listening that have ever trained with me before, you're always welcome back to the door. Never think like too much time is gone. So I always say, like, I'm not going anywhere, the club's always open. So again, for this student, they want to come back then, but I don't know what his condition is. I can only imagine that his condition has got too bad that he can't face it. So wanted to help out in a way I could, and we decided to raise money for the Huntington's Disease Society. And how will we do that? One of the things that I don't have any pictures of my club from when I was training in the 90s as a colour belt. And so I'm always a big person of taking photos of my class. Every time they get their new belts, take a photo. Every time we have a big event, take a photo. Just because, right now they might not think it's necessary, but honestly, now, trust me, when you look back, you like photos. So we decided to do a photo calendar. I got a professional photographer, Michael Williams, to come in and just take photos of a class, just a random class, and no one's really posing on it. They're all just doing their moves, and he's trying to capture the moment. And we just decided to sell this calendar over the Christmas break. If you'd like to get one, again, you can contact me through the website or the Facebook, or just come to the dojo and get one. They're £8, and all the money after paying for the calendars to be made will be going to the Huntington's disease. So we're hoping to sell 100, and all that money then would go to the Huntington's disease. And if it goes well, we'd probably do a project next year. But the idea was, it's a nice way of giving to a charity. It's nice for the parents and the kids to have a memory of their students, and also it's a way of advertising the club. Again, I don't know how to spread the word of Tang Soo. I'm trying on this radio podcast to say it's a great thing, but hopefully people will put up in their house, people will go over and go, oh, look at that person doing that they'd like to do. So what we're doing as well is we're including a free voucher for a class. So again, it's just trying to make people, because again, like I talked on the podcast that came on last, I think that this program is good for people of all ages, whether you want to learn self-defense, whether you want to get fit, whether you want to gain some confidence, or just be involved with other people. You know, it's a very sort of time at the moment where everyone's behind their computer, everyone's behind their phone. They don't get together on a regular basis to do it. So whether your thing is music or sport or martial arts, it's good to get together. So again, the calendar was just this way of us getting across, and I've given Lauren a copy of the calendar. She's going to take some photos of it, and they will be available from the 8th of December. So please feel free to contact me if you'd like one.
Okay, thank you, Gus. For our listeners that are interested as well, where can they go for more information on your club?
If you want to find out about my club, we have a website. Just type in Wales Tang Soo into Google and it will be the hit. We also have a Facebook page. The club is called Heads of the Valleys Tang Soo. I'm on Instagram as myself. My handle is Tigger TSD, and we're also on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. So please check us out. Please give us a call if you'd like to come try out a class. Again, it's coming up to Christmas, and often people eat too much, drink too much over Christmas, get a bit lazy, and then in January they want to start up a martial art. So we always have new people walking in the club. There's always beginner classes, so please feel free to walk through the door. You are always welcome to come try it out or watch the first lesson. Totally fine.
Okay, thank you, Gus, for coming in to talk to our listeners today.
Lauren Lucas, 97.3 BGfm.